Hey everybody, Corey here, coming at you with another first impressions video, this time for the Civivi Aquila, or Aquila, depending on whatever you want to say. This is a very interesting knife, especially at the price point, so we'll just start there. You're looking at somewhere between 62 and 68 bucks. It's normally 68, but you can find it on White Mountain Knives for 10% off usually. So that's how you get to that 62 price point. What you're getting with this knife is VG10 steel, which is a perfectly adequate mid-level steel. G10 textured scales, which we can see right there. And you're getting a knife that is on ceramic bearings, which is actually pretty interesting for a knife at the $60, $70 price point. You don't always start to see bearings until you start getting around $100, depending on the maker. So that's very nice. A lot of good things to say about this knife, so I just want to go into it. In terms of the fit and finish, we're looking at excellent fit and finish here. The centering on the knife, I need to screw down the pivot a little bit more. It's just a hair to the left. But that was because I disassembled it and reassembled it, and I wanted it to be just a little bit more loose. But if I tighten that pivot, the centering is actually pretty much perfect. And honestly, if you're not absolutely insane about your knives, this is absolutely fine. The action, extremely reliable, extremely consistent. One of the things that I wanted to demonstrate is how good the detent is on this knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this knife, but I'm going to apply gradually a little bit more force to the flipper until there's just enough force to actually overcome the detent. So let's do that right now. Yeah, so because of the strength of the detent, which I would say is absolutely perfect, this knife pretty much never fails when you actually use the flipper tab. Good detent, can't complain about that. The fit and finish, again, these screws are flush. Everything that's supposed to be flush is flush. The texturing on the back of this G10 spacer is really nice. You've got a titanium pocket clip here, which is just absolutely wonderful. The milling looks great. Everything is great. The only thing that I have in terms of complaints on this knife is actually regarding the liner lock. The jimping on the liner lock is actually quite aggressive. And when you couple that with the fact that the liner lock is actually really stiff, what you end up getting is a very unpleasant feeling on your thumb, and my thumb is all dry and scraped up from flipping this knife for the past couple of days. Speaking of that, I said past couple of days, so typically for a first impressions video, I try to only have the knife for a few hours, but I just never really got around to it, and to be honest, I couldn't resist handling this knife. You might have noticed one of the things that I have already done to this, I absolutely could not resist, is I put a mirror polish on the edge there. That's focusing on, there we go. How awesome is that? Seriously. This looks so great, especially when you actually focus on the knife. With the black DLC coated blade, in case you didn't notice that there's a black DLC coating there, mirror edges always look absolutely crazy on a black DLC blade, so that's one of the reasons that I went for this. So you can do that too. If you don't like the black DLC coated blade, Civivi is notorious for making a ton of different models with their knives. I believe this comes in tan and green as well, and they come without the black DLC coating. What else do I want to talk about? One of the things that I like about this knife actually is the options that you have in terms of flipping it open. So of course it has a flipper tab. You can flip it open like you would any other flipper tab knife. However, it also has a thumb hole. So if you want to, you can use a thumb flick. If you want to, you can use a Spidey flick. Let's see if I can do this. Yep, there you go. There's your Spidey flick. If you want the reverse Spidey flick, you can do one of these, holding it by the hole. And finally, my favorite way that's actually kind of interesting is you can kind of flip it the same way you flip a front flipper. If you grab the clip like this and you get a good grip on the knife like this, you can put your thumb here and you can flip it like that. So that's actually really cool. Personally, I like what they did to this knife in terms of styling. I have always been someone who enjoys black and gold. I think it's a really classy look. When you couple it with a DLC coated blade, It's just something that, you look at and you go, oh my gosh, you can tell that they really thought about how they wanted to design this thing and just make it a really sharp looking blade. Let's push it back. The final thing that I want to compliment on this knife is the grind, the factory grind on the edge. So this is about 0.13 inches thick. I'm sorry, that's an absolutely terrible measurement, but that's the only thing I can remember right now. I don't know what the millimeters are. And it has a hollow grind. And what that ends up leading to is the knife being very thin behind the edge. You can't see it from the top because it's got a swedge in the middle, but it's very thin behind the edge. And I also wanted to comment, this by far is a knife that was the most consistent behind the edge in terms of the grind from heel to tip straight from the factory. This came at about 17 to 18 degrees, and when I was sharpening it, I was absolutely amazed at how consistent it was heel to tip. This had a very, very, very good factory grind on it, and it is now by far my sharpest knife due to how thin it is behind the edge, that hollow grind, and just, oh gosh, it was just absolutely wonderful to sharpen. So from a first impressions perspective, in sum, what are we looking at? We're looking at pretty good materials. We're talking about G10 and VG10. VG10 is a middle of the road steel, but honestly, when we're talking about 60, 70 bucks, Spyderco is still using VG10 on some of their $100, $120 knives. So, I really can't complain about there. The ceramic bearings make the action really great. It's really smooth. It's really reliable. My only complaint as of right now, like I said, is that aggressive jimping on the inside of that liner lock. It really kind of gouges up your thumb when you try to lock it. And it's not a pleasant experience. I do have to say this is something that comes with all Civivi knives that I'm very impressed with. You get this case. The knife actually comes in this case, and it comes with this Civivi microfiber cloth. Now, I know you can get a microfiber cloth on the cheap. I know you can get a case on the cheap, but honestly, come on, guys. You're already getting, if it was just the knife alone, you're getting some great value here. But the fact that they give you this case and they give you this microfiber cloth, and it's nicely lined with this padded stuff. I know it's not a big deal to some people. I know you're buying the knife for the knife, but this is just it's an added touch that it's really nice. It really shows me that Civivi gives a crap about your unboxing experience, and you can't say that for every knife company. So the full review is on its way. Expect great things. I have nothing but good things to say about this knife so far. I'm extremely impressed. The only thing that I really don't like about this knife is how bad it makes me feel about the ZT that I paid $240 for, because this thing is just absolutely wonderful. So again, stay tuned for the full review. Hopefully this was entertaining. Hopefully this was helpful. I'll see you guys next time.